Hi everyone, my name is Yutaka Takatsu. I am one of the product managers in Enterprise Manager Product Management team. This session is optimizing middleware monitoring with the latest Enterprise Manager. I'll be the presenter for the next 20 minutes or so. In this workshop, there are many sessions which you can learn about how to use Enterprise Manager's powerful features to effectively manage your systems, particularly databases. However, it is not only the database that Enterprise Manager can manage. You can use Enterprise Manager to manage other infrastructure too, which you have in your IT system. For example, in front of your database, you may have a web application running. That is where your customers log in. And behind the application, there may be a HTTP server, application server, or other middleware components which process the data and write to or query the database. All these components are related and work together. Using Enterprise Manager, you can manage end-to-end hardware and software assets needed for your business's systems in cloud or in your data center. The focus of this session is the middleware management. Using Enterprise Manager, you can manage Oracle Fusion middleware such as WebLogic or IDM, and also non-Oracle middleware such as Tomcat or JBoss. In fact, we have wide coverage on middleware products in Enterprise Manager. The screen shows the Enterprise Manager middleware certifications that include Oracle Fusion middleware and non-Oracle middleware. What this means is that you can use Enterprise Manager to discover them as targets, monitor the availability and performance of them, receive alert notifications, and also administer the management activities. Currently in Enterprise Manager 13.5, we support FMW version up to 12.2.1.4. And with the next major release of Enterprise Manager 24.1, we will support the FMW 14.1.2. And that includes Oracle WebLogic Server, Oracle Access Manager, Oracle Analytics Server, Coherence, OHS, IDM, SOA, and so on, as you can see in the screen. We also support non-Oracle middleware servers, which are Apache Tomcat, IBM WebSphere Application Server, JBoss, and IIS. So those are the middleware products we support. As briefly mentioned in the previous slide, in the upcoming release of Enterprise Manager 24.1, we plan to introduce brand new non-Oracle middleware plugins. These plugins cover third-party middleware servers, which are Apache Tomcat, Microsoft IIS, JBoss Enterprise Application Platform, and IBM WebSphere Application Server. And these are not just updates to our existing plugins for the same target types. They are newly developed metadata plugins designed to maintain the same workflow as the current plugins. So you will be able to discover, configure, and monitor these targets in a similar manner to how you manage our existing plugins. And they support the latest target versions. The Apache Tomcat plugin supports versions 8, 8.5, 9, and 10. The IIS plugin supports version 10. The JBoss EAP plugin supports versions 6 and 7. And the WebSphere Application Server plugin supports versions 8.5.5 and 9.0. And these plugins provide updated out-of-the-box performance metrics and configuration metrics for the supported target versions. The plugins also support the information publisher reports for each target type, and they are pre-configured jobs that allow you to start and stop the target server remotely from the Enterprise Manager console. And if you currently have existing IIS and Tomcat targets in Enterprise Manager 13.5, you can upgrade them to the new plugins in the Enterprise Manager 24.1 with keeping the historical metric data of those targets. Please note, however, the upgrade is not supported for the JBoss and WebSphere plugins. That is because currently they are a part of FMW plugin in Enterprise Manager 13.5, while the new plugins are metadata plugins. So if you have JBoss or WebSphere targets today in Enterprise Manager 13.5, and when you upgrade your Enterprise Manager platform to 24.1, you will need to use the new plugin to rediscover them as new targets, and historical metric data will not be preserved in this case. Next, let's see the middleware management in actual Enterprise Manager product. I will demonstrate how you can discover the WebLogic domain as a managed target type, monitor the performance and availability of the components, and drill down to the JVM details. Here I have is Enterprise Manager 24.1 open my screen. I already have my username and password typed in, so I'm going to click Login. And this brings me to Enterprise Summary View. I want to go to Middleware homepage, so I'm going to click the hamburger menu and select Middleware under the targets. And that opens the Middleware homepage. So this is the page you manage your middleware targets, both Fusion middleware and non-Oracle middlewares. Currently, I have 5 WebLogic domains monitored with this EM instance. I would like to add another FMW domain for SOA. And for demo purpose, I already installed the management agent in the host where the SOA domain is deployed. So the agent installation steps are not covered in this demo. To discover a middleware target, click to open the Add menu from the toolbar. It shows the menu items to discover WebLogic domain targets and also the standalone FMW targets. Here, I'm going to select the Oracle Fusion Middleware WebLogic domain. And the next is to enter discovery parameters. For the server host, I can type down the host name or click the magnifying glass icon to open the select window, which displays the host targets already discovered. And here I will select the host where the SOA domain is deployed. Click Select. And that populates the data in the field. The port is pre-populated with 7001, which you can change in case it's different. And please note that also the agent field is populated as it is installed in the same host. Enter the username and password to log into the WebLogic administration server. Also, enter the credentials for the node manager. And I am changing the unique domain identifier from the default farm01 to something more meaningful. And here I type down SOA01, and this is going to be a part of the domain target name. Agent name is already populated, so I'm going to click Add Targets, and that starts the discovery process. And target discovery was completed successfully. Click Close. Now I can see a new domain target added to the middleware homepage. The target name is SOA01 domain, and the status is still pending because it's right after discovery. So wait for some time and click the refresh button. Now I see the statuses are up for the cluster and admin server targets. Click the cluster node to expand, and I can see the multiple WebLogic servers and also a SOA infra cluster. By expanding the WebLogic server node, I see the related components nested under it. So the targets were discovered and already started its monitoring, but because they're still not having too much data in there, I would like to open another existing domain. And this EMGC domain is the Enterprise Manager itself because EM is a WebLogic application. And here is the WebLogic Server target homepage, which you can see the general target information, availability status, and some resource utilization statistics. And this is also where you can start and stop the server. It also has out-of-box dashboards, which shows key performance metrics in chart views. You can select metrics from the metric palette pane, and that will add a chart to the dashboards. And you can save the customized page with a unique name so that you don't have to reconfigure from the next time. And here is another dashboard that has data particular to JVM performance. Here's heap usage and garbage collections. And to access other components within the domain, you can click the tree icon next to the target name, and that opens the target navigation menu. In this domain, there are WebLogic servers, coherence, and you can also see a node represents JVM pool. And this brings you to the JVM diagnostics view, where you can see deep dive information of the JVM stack. Here is JVM activity. Overview shows the JVM performance statistics, also top requests. Now let's open the Java Workload Explorer from the toolbar. In this view, you can see the workload at the JVM with information on what resource the thread is waiting for, and display them in different colors that can be CPU or database or other factors. And here the purple color indicates it took a lot of time waiting for the CPU in the recent activities. And this data can be viewed both real-time and also historically by using time slider or using the calendar widget. The lower side of the screen shows more detailed information from the selected time range. Now it is showing active JVMs, but by selecting the icons from the toolbar, you can switch the view to see the different information. Here is a request, and also here was a method that were invoked during the time, and you can see the database information too. So here it shows what database the JVM has communicated, and its JVM time, count, and durations. And also the SQL queries executed during the selected time. And you can select an item to activate additional features. Click SQL details, which you can see the actual statement used. And you can further drill down to the database information that punches out to the relevant database target page. If it is also monitored by the same Enterprise Manager instance, you need to enter the database credentials, which opens a SQL details view in the database target. Here's the activity of the SQL, which you see some spikes here. And from here, you can further investigate using database performance management features. That was a quick demonstration of the middleware management in Enterprise Manager. Now let's shift gears and look at a more advanced topic. Can I use Enterprise Manager to monitor WebLogic Server in Kubernetes? This is a question we hear more often nowadays from WebLogic customers. And the answer is yes, under some conditions. We verified this solution in OKE, which is a Kubernetes service in Oracle Cloud. However, using the same approach, you should be able to achieve the same results in a different cloud service or on-premise Kubernetes containers. Before going to the solution, let's talk about the challenges. In a containerized environment, you cannot directly install Enterprise Manager agent on the WebLogic host as you would do in on-premise deployment. There are specific challenges. The diagram on the screen is the WebLogic environment we'll use in this example. In a Kubernetes cluster, there is a WebLogic domain with admin server and two managed servers which are provisioned by the WebLogic Kubernetes operator. And for the security reasons, WebLogic domain is typically created in a private subnet. So the access is limited to its own VCN. There is no access allowed from outside of the network. And what this means is that the Enterprise Manager that resides in a different VCN does not have direct access to the container host. You won't be able to push to install the Enterprise Manager agent to it. So that's one problem. Even in the case you somehow manage to manually install the Enterprise Manager agent in the pods, there is still a problem because there is no bidirectional connection between the EM agent and the Enterprise Manager server, which is required for the EM to work properly. So that's a second problem. Another challenge is the agent lifecycle management. Kubernetes pods are transient in nature, so if a pod fails, the WebLogic operator tries to create a new replica to continue the operation. However, in this case, you will lose the EM agent. So you must go through the agent deployment and the target discovery process manually every time the pods are destroyed and regenerated. So these are some challenges you would expect when installing EM agent into the Kubernetes pods, and that is not likely acceptable, and that is why we need a different approach. Next, we'll talk about the solution. Our solution is to use the Kubernetes Load Balancer service, which is a functionality in OKE and also in other cloud services. First, you will create a private subnet within the VCN. Then within the subnet, create Kubernetes load balancer services and use that service to connect to the WebLogic servers in the Kubernetes pods. Specify a port in each load balancer service, which you will use to connect from the EM agent. In this example, the port numbers are the same with those of the WebLogic servers, just to make it easier. And this can be done in a YAML file or the Kubernetes configuration file. In the port section, specify 7001, which is for the EM agent. Also set 7001 to the target port as well. This is to connect to the admin server. And there is also the port 30012 specified for the T3 channel, which connects to JVM. The next is to install an EM agent. You can create a public subnet and a bastion server within the VCN. Then using SSH, let EM to push the agent binary to the bastion server and remotely install the EM agent. This way, the EM agent can connect to the load balancer services, which connects to the WebLogic servers and receive the metric data from them. And lastly, open the agent port only for the EM server so that the agent can securely talk to the Enterprise Manager bidirectionally with HTTPS. Using this method, EM agent can securely connect to the WebLogic servers, collect the metric data, and bring it all the way back to the EM server. And as for the security, only through the Enterprise Manager you can access the WebLogic servers from outside of the VCN. And that is because only the EM agent can access the load balancers, and only the EM server can access the EM agent. To do so, it is recommended to restrict access to the Bastion server so that only the EM server can communicate with the Enterprise Manager agent. And this can be done by configuring the security list in the VCN and maybe with the firewall settings. Then what would happen when the pods are restarted? In short, monitoring continues. That is because in this model, EM agent resides outside of the cluster. Load balancers also continue to exist keeping its configurations. When the pods are restarting, you will see that the targets are down in the Enterprise Manager console, which is expected. And once the pods are restored, the load balancers reconnect to the new pods. The target status will be back to up again. So here, reconfiguration on Enterprise Manager is not required, also because Enterprise Manager regards the old server and the new server as the same target. The historical metric data of the target that is already collected is preserved. So you can continue to use the metric data from the past for the target analysis. Once you complete the setup, you can use the Middleware homepage in the Enterprise Manager console to discover the WebLogic servers. You can use the Enterprise Manager agent on the Bastion host and remotely discover the targets. And in fact, unlike many other target types in the Enterprise Manager, which require the Enterprise Manager agent in the target host, WebLogic Server can be discovered from the remote EM agent using the JBoss protocol. There are some trade-offs, but you don't have to have an agent installed in the WebLogic Server host. And as for the discovery parameters, you can use the IP and the port of the load balancer instead of those from the actual admin server, as you can see on the screen. And upon the successful discovery, you will see the WebLogic targets in OKE showing up in the Middleware homepage. For more information, we have a hands-on workshop in Oracle Help Center. This is a workshop having a step-by-step tutorials which covers the topics discussed in this section. So that is all we have for today. Here are some key takeaways from the session. Enterprise Manager supports comprehensive end-to-end IT asset management, which is essential for effective business systems. With Enterprise Manager, you can manage databases, hosts, applications, and middleware products. Enterprise Manager enables you to monitor both Oracle Fusion middleware and non-Oracle middleware as targets, providing flexibility in your IT environment. Additionally, The JVM Diagnostics feature allows you for in-depth monitoring of Java applications. You can directly access the relevant database from JVM activities for detailed analysis. And finally, Enterprise Manager enables the monitoring of WebLogic Server in Kubernetes environments, whether that is an OKE or other cloud vendor services or on-premise Kubernetes containers. This concludes the presentation. Thank you for your time and attention.